Let's move on, shall we, to the big story in the Telegraph, David. Rebel League in talks to sign world's best rugby players, and then there on the left a little bit more. F1-style breakaway backed by US cash could split sports. Up to 20 global stars already believed to be interested. Right, tell us more, David. Unpack this one for us.
Yeah, you can read different versions of this. Telegraph, Mail, Times have all got dispatches on it. It's fascinating. Immediately, your mind springs to the LIV golf breakaway and various sort of rebel movements in cricket as well. It goes back historically, the Kerry Packer revolution, and then on more recently to the Indian Premier League and so on. The first thing you always hear in these cases is of people exploring it, players, agents, the money that might be on offer, the sort of modern methods to tap into new markets, the idea that it would be the men's and the women's going on a sort of circus-style roadshow with fewer games, all of these attractive elements, bigger money, investment maybe from Middle East and the USA. And then you see the pushback that comes from the authorities who would make it incredibly tough. The establishment in terms of the strength of contracts, in terms of the agreements that are already in place, potential threats against those who might be enticed by this. But as we've seen with the LIV Golf movement, often that softens over time. And if this comes about, because it hasn't yet, then and it's successful, then it sort of becomes a bit of an unstoppable force when there's so much money at play and sort of compromises have to be struck. And we've seen that in the way that somebody like Rory McIlroy has softened in his conversation when he was initially so resistant on the LIV Golf movement, and then talking about how the tours can coexist and maybe the initial idea that Ryder Cup players wouldn't be allowed to play if they were part of the LIV series, but now that's sort of being appealed against and it's still being debated. So this is a potentially fascinating development for rugby at a time where there's a bit of a crisis when it comes to revenues. We've seen what Wales have been through in the last year or so, and there'll be many in rugby looking at this as potential salvation. There'll be many who fear its impact. We'll have to wait and see how it develops, but clearly a movement has been going on behind the scenes. Many people are privy to the discussions, and it appears to be the way that many sports are going now, one after the next, being talked about in terms of sort of potential breakaways and takeovers, and it's a fascinating potential development.
Jonathan, when you look at the detail of all of this, I'm just looking into the article here. So attempts have already been made to lure 200 top players, with between 10 and 20 of the sport's biggest names indicating interest. And the new venture, which would require mammoth financial backing to get off the ground, estimated to be around £500 million, an F1-style travelling event involving 8 teams. I mean, this is a seismic change, isn't it, into the way that rugby as a sport traditionally operates. I mean, and it seems like, you know, that there's real credibility behind the idea, and that they've already gone quite far down the track in terms of trying to get liftoff on it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I mean, maybe I'm sticking my neck out here, but it's not going to happen. I think rugby union, you sign up 20 of the world's best golfers and you have a tournament, people will watch that. You sign up 20 of the world's best cricketers, you sign Joss Butler and whatever, and Chris Gale, and you have a, you know, you have a league. You sign up 20 of the world's best rugby players, you don't even have a game, you don't have a match yet. And it's also a sport that I don't think it has the same individual star appeal that sports like golf or tennis or cricket do. One of two things is going on here. Either, you know, this is, like David mentioned, it's a LIV style deal where essentially whoever's financially backing this wants a seat at the table. It's a kind of a bargaining chip to try and get some leverage, to try and sort of force the hand of the game's administrators. Or it's a story that's been, you know, that is there for the players to go to their federation and say, look, this is the money that's on the table, these are the offers that are on the table, and try to secure some kind of improved remuneration for themselves. It seems to me it's one of those two things, because I just cannot, for the life of me, conceive how a league like this will get off the ground. I just can't logistically see it happening.
Yeah, Dave, what do you make of what Jonathan's just said there?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point, and it's not just the remuneration. I think many players have been talking about the strain that the international schedule in particular is putting on them physically. They're exhausted, and that's not even mentioning club rugby. And so, if this brings about some sort of improvement to their finances, to the schedule, and also maybe some technological improvements, if you read down the pieces, they sort of explain how this has already jolted the authorities into life, and they're talking about a potential draft style transfer system for rugby, to sort of glitz it up a bit, and certain innovations that would improve the existing product. And at this point, when it's just a sort of concept and talks, reportedly, it may be something that is designed to put pressure on the status quo to improve it and make it a better environment for those involved.